And good evening again. If you've been watching this live, you saw me say this a few minutes ago. Yes, apologies there, a slight technical hitch, but I think we've ironed it out. On tonight's show, we'll be having the usual mixed bag of stuff. A bit later in the show, a bit later than intended, in fact, will be, because we cocked up the start, I'll be joined by Barry Spath, who was on a few weeks ago and seemed to go down very well. Well, he's back for some more, and we'll be talking about the topic of e-cigs, the strive for perfection being the enemy of what's good. You'll see what I mean when we get there. I'm also going to be having a small stroll down memory lane, very small stroll, and on the subject, basically, I think I may have become a bit of a vaping old fart, because there's things going on that I simply just don't approve of or see the point of. So I'm gonna go old school, okay? Old school. I've dug out some old kit. See, some old kit. Not the iStick, obviously, but I'll be giving you an update on that as well. I've dug out some old kit, and I'm going to try and make it work. And ask the question, why do we need anything else? So, let's get started. And this time we really will get started. Right, now, I'll start with the iStick, shall I? Because I know to many people's amusement, I've just got out of the corner of this eye, I caught the chat there, the live chat. And Dave the Rail wants to know if there's an incoming DK rant. No, not a rant. I'm too old to rant. I'll just some musings, but you'll see. I'll give you an update on this thing. I just want to change the camera shot here and demonstrate. Look, 1, 2. Last week, I was going to review the iStick, wasn't I? And I kind of did, but it didn't work because the button had got stuck. And if you were watching last week, or you have watched last week's show on YouTube, you will know that it was my intention to contact iVapor, elixir.co.uk, Toby, and report it to him and let him know that there was a problem. And as I totally expected, Toby just said, no problem, I'll send you a new one. So I thought, that's good. So me being me, I said, well, if you're sending me a new one, do you want the old one back? He said, nah, bin it. So I said, well, do you mind if I get a screwdriver on it then and see if I can fix it? And he said, go on then. So I did. And what I did, if you watched the Haze Hour on VTTV on Thursday, you will have seen Dave Dawn actually totally take one of these apart. I'm just moving some stuff out of the shot of that camera. I didn't do that, and the reason I didn't do that is these little torque screws. I've got actually quite what I thought was quite a comprehensive set of torques and security torques and hex and various bits, and the smallest one I got torques was a T6 and this is a T5, so I thought, well, whatever. But you'll have seen, and I'm proud to say that I did this before I'd seen Dave's video actually. I got a screwdriver and I figured out that basically these plastic bits here are glued on. If you've seen Dave's video, that's why I'm making reference to Dave's video, you'll see that's exactly the case. These plastic strips are mostly decorative, but this top one also serves to stop this button falling out. If you remove these bits of plastic, that bit drops out. So what I actually did in the end is I got a penknife blade under this bit, safe in the knowledge that a new one was coming, and nicked that off, and it was a case of forcing it until the glue came off. And then I peeled this one. I didn't totally remove this strip, I just sort of lifted it so it peeled at the edge and did that, and the button just fell into my hand. So I was thinking, okay, it's no longer stuck, that's a good thing. So I just got a penknife and just sort of scraped around the edge just to make sure there was no glue or adhesive or anything there. Stuck it all back together, and it's worked ever since, and you can see that it's working absolutely perfectly. So now I've got 2. I've got 2 blue ones. I'll put a sticker on the bottom of this one. Because thing is, right, because of this, the way this one's been, when I first did it, I thought, actually, I'm a bit reluctant to depend on that because I have every intention of taking this to Switzerland with me tomorrow and using it all week. I don't think I need anything else. All I need is a charging lead and I'm sorted. But I wasn't sure if I could trust this one. So I put a little sticker on the bottom so I know which is the Duff one. And this is a brand new one that's not been used because this one hasn't let me down yet. So I went from a slightly frustrating and annoying bad situation last Sunday to a really good one because I've now got 2 iSticks. How cool's that? I'm sure the more observant of you will have noticed that this is only running at 9 watts. I've been reading a bit saying that actually at some of these lower wattages this thing isn't too accurate in the way it reads them. But I think you'll agree, actually, for just like a simple cartomizer, this is one of those BVC glassomizer things, which is a couple of weeks old now. And I think you'll agree that for 8 watts, I've currently got it set at. It has been a bit higher at times. There's not actually a shortage of vapor there, is there? I've got a BDC, and that's probably what I'm going to be using with it all week, and I'll probably crank it up a bit higher to get those playing nicely. But that's the update on my iStick. I have loved this thing. I've been home all week. I've been working from home this week at this desk, and I don't know whether I dare turn the camera slightly. I could live to regret this, but let's give it a go. And I can demonstrate to you that I have 1 or 2 mods literally within arm's reach. You see that? And even though it's been that easy, I've actually been using this one. And the main reason for it is I just put it in my pocket. I go downstairs or out the house or whatever, and I haven't got to worry about it. I haven't run the battery flat yet because while I've been at my desk it works as a pass-through. So I've been doing this quite a lot. And I have to say, this is the best e-cig that I have owned for a long time. There's a gadget coming out as well, which fits onto the top of it. It fits onto the, let's see if that camera has still got anything like a decent shot. It doesn't look too bad after I was just swinging it around. But there's a gadget coming out. This is the only minor irritation I've got with it, is that you have to use a 510 adapter, an ego adapter. And it has, this one has like kind of depressed the 510 connector inside the centre post. So a couple of times I've had to lift that up with a screwdriver if I wanted another atomizer on it, which hasn't been much. But there's a gadget coming out from Eleaf, which screws in here, and it's like a hinged sort of thing. Somebody on UK Vapors Forum said it looked a bit like a bog seat. It sort of does that, and then it'll hinge. So you'll be able to clip it up and it'll work, but then just, it's got a little catch and it'll do that. And hold the thing so you can just shove it in your pocket. Which is a pretty cool idea. And then when you want to use it, you just like fold it back out again and click. So I thought that was quite a neat thing. As soon as they hit the websites, I shall be in for one of them, I reckon. iStick, it's good. I like it. Fan, yeah, we like that. Anyway, so that's an update on that. I want to talk about innovation and the fact that the recognition. I was talking during the week with Dave Dawn, and I've come to the conclusion that I might be becoming a bit of a vaping, boring old fart. I'm not sure. I'm going to tell you what my gripe is straight after this. So it was actually my 4-year vaping anniversary last month, just over a month ago, the 4th of October. Yeah. So I've been vaping now for 49 months. And I won't go over the first kit I used and all the rest of it because I've often told the story. I got the Sigalag, went on to a vaping forum, happened to be UK Vapors, got put in the right direction, bought some better kit, and off I went. Well, that better kit was basically it was an Eastmal Reaver, which was a clone, a copy of an Ego. So it was like that. I still have those Reaver batteries around somewhere because I bought some spares and stuff, and I think one of the ones from the original starter kit still works. But I kind of moved on to mods and stuff, so I don't know about you guys. I've never actually finished off an Ego battery. I tend to put them down in favour of another one. I've had a couple start to sort of whimper off, and then so you buy a replacement. I mean, they're so cheap, aren't they, compared to smoking at least? So, why put up with stuff that doesn't look like it's going to last much longer? But basically, I had one of these, and I used to use them with 510 atomizers, of which I still have a few, and here's one. I believe this one came from Liberty Flights, and they were selling this as low resistance, which I think was 1.7 ohms, because that was pretty low resistance, that was. I remember when Cisco brought out the 1.5 ohms, and everybody was going, what do you need that for? What do you need 1.5 ohms for? That's ridiculously low. But that's basically, I was happy with that, basically. If nobody had have invented anything different, I'd have probably still be using that today. And I don't think I'd have gone back to fags, to be honest with you. I mean, okay, we had the original sort of cartridges in the end. And I tried all the blue foam and all that kind of stuff. And of course, cartomizers and everything came along, and in many cases, those early ones went and all the rest of it. But I really want to talk about the battery units, really. Up until the iStick arrived last week, I've been using these things fine. Okay, I do like a bit more power occasionally, but I rarely take a device up above about 10 or 11, maybe 12 watts. Very rare. It's basically the only time I take a device up above that sort of level is when I'm too lazy to recoil something. So rather than recoil it, I'll knock the power up to get some sort of sense of feeling from it. But I was I was actually talking with Dave Dawn on Skype. We used the chat on Skype a lot during the course of the week, and somebody announced that there was a 250 watt or something mod coming out, and I thought, what on earth do you need that for? And I'm very aware of the fact that when Cisco brought out the 1.5 ohm 510 atomizer, a lot of people said that to me, and I said I thought it was better. But it did occur to me that here we are, there's these things. It seems to be a race now amongst the different manufacturers to see what the highest number of watts they can get in a mod, and I'm not convinced anybody needs over about 20. I know a few people who go at 30 or 40, and I know that, like, if you're into cloud chasing and all the rest of it, then you need a bit more. But for crying out loud, 150, 200 watts. I mean, we're getting up to lawnmower engine sort of power now, aren't we? But it did make me laugh because I'd been vaping a little, but probably 2 or 3 months after I started vaping, I got a couple of mods, right? I think I had a silver bullet, and I certainly had one of Trog's screwdrivers. All 3.7 volts, and your wattage was controlled by what atomizer you put on there. Rebuildables weren't really about. And I remember there was a bit of a sort of craze on the UK Vapors forum about 5 volt vaping. And I got sent. Do you remember? Everybody remember Glenn? He used to do the reviews on YouTube. Good guy, Glenn. Nice guy. And as I was a newbie, and I've seen him do it with many other newbies as well. I kind of posted on there, what's the point in all this 5-volt stuff? And he said, I'll send you a box mod. And he sent me this, and I don't know who made this. I don't think he didn't make it himself. Somebody given it to him. And as you can see, it's quite a crude box. The wiring inside is not the cleanest wiring job you've ever seen. It's certainly not a Gary Dibley job. And it's actually playing up at the moment. I was hoping I could demonstrate it now. But this was a 5 volts this thing put out. Yeah. Well, there were lots of box mods around like this with an on and off switch. Some of them had chargers built in. And I can remember trying it and thinking, yeah, okay, so the vapor's a bit warmer. But to be honest with you, everything that you can attach to the top of it, it seems to burn most of the stuff I'd put in it. And remember, like when you're using 510 atomizers with the wool inside or blue foam or something, when I say burn, I mean burn. Like it's not like sort of slightly drying out a bit of silica wick in a modern car atomizer. Like it got proper burned, been gone. I remember this is another box mod. Just while we're on the subject, the term squonking. This was the first product reviewed on Vapor Trails TV on our opening night in February 2011. Andy Sutton and I both had one of these, and Dave Dawn had one even before that, I know. This is made by a guy who calls himself Dave's Devices, and he disappeared shortly after this, so we reviewed this for him and everything. And apparently he had more orders than he had time to make, so he shut everything down. But this was an 18650 box mod with a little bottle of juice, and there's a little needle in the 510 fitting. And with the old atomizers, of course, you could... I'll show you in a close-up. A proper 510 atomizer. If I take the cap that they ship it with off there, look, this is a low resistance one. This is not a Liberty Flights one. This is a Cisco 1.5, I think. Yeah, it's got Cisco's branding on the bottom. So a brand new, unused Cisco one. That's probably a collector's item, that. But you see the hole in the bottom. You could put like this onto the needle, which is fed by this bottle. I'd screw that on there. And it would basically, when you squeeze the bottle, the juice would go through the air holes, the little breather holes in the 510 thread. If I do that, maybe it'll focus, maybe it won't. Got a bit of plastic and old gulped up juice on there now. Probably isn't helping. But there's an air hole you can see just there. And the juice would go in there and bubble up inside. And you had a juice fed system. And that's probably about the first one of those that was around. This thing was fantastic. You could charge your 18650 through it. It's got various settings so you can charge it, switch it on and off. An LED for when it's charging. And actually, I've just got to try this because I've just remembered something else it does, which not all of them do. But Dave said, I'm sending you one to review. Yeah, here we go. Watch. If I press the fire button, I've just put a battery in it. There's an LED that changes colour. How fantastic is that? But this thing, it does everything. But it gives you 3.7 volts. That's your lot. Or 4.2, should I say. Isn't that fantastic? And I preferred that to this. Okay, when the 18650 and it started to drop off a bit, I'd probably change it pretty quickly to keep closer to the 4.2 volts than to the 3.7 before it stopped working. But like 5 volts was just too much for all the stuff on top. So, I mean, and that's still a perfectly good e-cig, right? And it's funny because I'm looking at all these sort of hundreds of wattage devices are coming out now, and not many of them, a lot of them look like this. So while we're on the subject of box mods, I just thought I'd get this out. This was also made by Dave's Devices. And this is a cracking little thing. It's also got his little colour display, look. I was just, as we were setting up tonight, I was talking to Dave and I said, I'll see if it still works. And so I stuck a battery in it. This one's just, I had to put some magnets in because it was designed. IMR batteries were pretty unusual at that time. So this has got like it was sized for a protected circuit battery, so I've had to stick a couple of magnets on the top to get it to work at all. Very neat job. He was very neat with these things, was Dave. And I tried to put like something on it just before we came on air to see if it would work okay. And the only thing I can get to fit it is a 510, a proper 510 size atomizer. Because like it's actually recessed down inside, which he did deliberately to give the threading a bit of strength, so it didn't get damaged. I thought that was brilliant. I've rabbited on a little bit too much. I was going to actually fire that up and see if it still works, and I might still do that. But I've got a guest who's already wondering. I remember. I'm just reading a comment there from Gary. He says, "I remember you getting that." Yeah. There you go. Yeah. He was a fantastic guy. Was Dave from Dave's Devices, and just gone. And I feel really quite privileged to have these in my collection because these were really hard to get, and then you couldn't get any more. So, and this one, I'll just ran that little sort of anecdote off. The reason it's got a Dalek and Victory on it is because Jaded it wasn't at UK Vape Fest actually. It was at a mini meet I organised at the Plough and Harrow back in 2011. Jaded, who does a lot of work these days. He does all the graphics and runs the website and everything for Vape Fest UK. Really good guys, Jaded. And he came along and decorated box mods. He set himself up with a table in the corner and decorated box mods. So that's brilliant. I might have a little go with this and compare it to this, because this thing is currently running at 8 watts. That's only 3.7 volts. So I might do that. But we're going to take our first break. The clock's all over the place now. But we're going to take our first break, and I'm going to see if we can get hold of Barry Spath. And then we'll move on from there. So I'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Joytech UK are proud sponsors of VapeTrails.tv.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Award-winning service and products from cloud9vaping.co.uk.
Vapers, do you love discovering new e-liquids? Tell Dripper the types of flavours you like and they'll send you 5 gourmet juices each month. Experience new and exclusive flavours, all with a money-back guarantee and free delivery anywhere in Europe. Dripper.co.uk.
RY4 Radio.
And welcome back, and I'm pleased to say that Barry's here with no drama at all this week.
Oh, what a shame. It's so exciting.
I was also, just after Barry connected there, just looking at, seem to have a bunch of these. I've got loads of Cisco atomizers left. Sorry for holding that so close to the microphone, everybody. Yeah, Barry, how are you? What you been up to?
Just good, just good. Got a couple of new mods in and playing with them and having fun and going about my daily routine of vaping and making a little money and having a good time.
Sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good. These are not Cisco's. They're the other bits I found. These are... I can't make it out. It's too small. But they appear to be 2 ohm atomizers, not 1.5. I might play with one of those and keep my Cisco for, special occasion or something.
Yeah. Oh, well, 2 ohm used to be the standard.
Well, it did, didn't it? Yeah.
1.5 was considered very low ohm.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And then when sort of 5 volt took off, there were 2.4 and 2.6 ohm, I remember. Yeah, because because I can remember arguing with people for a long time saying, what's the point in using 5 volts, right, and sticking a 2.5 ohm atomizer on it? Why don't you just use the ego you've already got and put a 1.5 ohm atomizer on it?
To see what you can get away with and what would work.
Exactly. But I have an atomizer here, and I will try that little box mod. In fact, no, I'm not going to fill up the big one. It'll just make a mess. Anyway, Barry, this week we were going to talk about perfection being the enemy of the good, which was a phrase that Clive Bates coined some time ago. You'll be familiar with Clive's work.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I thought so. And it was an expression he used when he was talking about the public health reaction to electronic cigarettes. And Dave sort of threw down some thoughts on it as he was driving about, as he is prone to doing. Let's play that video in for the guys that haven't seen it, and then when we come back, we'll have a chat about it.
Excellent.
Let's roll VT.
A phrase that Clive Bates used a wee while back, and that is not to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Now here's the thing, e-cigs as they stand are good, certainly 2nd and 3rd generation e-cigs with the kind of tanks and the kind of battery systems that we're using, the likes of these little things, which is an Eleaf iStick, and it's got an Aspire Nautilus Mini on it. This is good. It's probably not perfect, but it's definitely good. The problem that we face at the moment is that there are people out there who, for whatever reason, want to see perfect. And these tend to be people that are in public health. You see statements like, ideally, smokers would quit nicotine altogether. That would be perfect. The thing is, though, there's an awful lot of smokers just do not want to quit nicotine altogether. And why should they? It's good enough that they would switch to a much safer alternative, in this case e-cigs. So a blind adherence, as the World Health Organization has, to total nicotine abstinence is actually the enemy of a much greater good, which, if we're to believe everything we're told, involves people switching to e-cigs and not necessarily becoming nicotine abstinent. That's quite difficult for a lot of people to understand. But this whole goal of nicotine abstinence, like alcohol abstinence, like abstinence from anything, is actually the enemy of a much greater good. Again, there have been many op-eds written on the subject of, well, what happens if everybody on the planet of adult age decides to take up e-cigs? Is it going to harm them? No, not to any great degree. The fact of the matter is, on a population basis, if everybody used an e-cig, there would be a reduction in adverse health consequences as far as we're able to see at the moment. That, in a perfect world, according to some people, there'd be no nicotine use at all. It's not my perfect world, but it's their perfect world. And again, in this situation, they are letting perfect be the enemy of the good. They're not going to achieve a global population that doesn't use nicotine, that doesn't use any drugs. And frankly, we know that the war on drugs has not worked and cannot work and will not work, because in a situation like that, aiming for the perfect world as they see it means that in the imperfect world there is a black market, and in that black market the people who have control are by definition criminals. And the fact of the matter is, if you are prepared to operate in a criminal black market, then there is very little likelihood that the best outcomes of health for your customers are what you are going to be working on. In fact, the likelihood is that all you're going to want to do is make as much money as you can while you can, and then get out before you get caught. And this is something that the World Health Organization, in actual fact, is, by its insistence on the perfect, they're encouraging the creation of a black market that is run by criminals. And this is the problem with seeking to control and over-regulate so many devices. So, if you like, this is a plea to all of those in public health. Do not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Accept that in e-cigs what you have is a system of devices that promise a great public health dividend. Embrace them, promote them, get them out there, stop trying to legislate against them. For once, stop trying to make the perfect, as you see it, be the enemy of the good as everybody else sees it. To do otherwise is criminal and will promote criminal behaviour. And if that's what you really want, if that's the road that you intend to go down, that makes you, World Health Organization, as bad as the criminals.
And welcome back. And I'm sorry if that was a bit loud. I swear that I sorted out the levels on that, and I'm not really sure what happened. I did try. I do try generally to try and equalise all of the volumes of all the different bits we've got, and that one's clearly slipped through the net slightly. So that said, I think I did it after I got back from that Motorhead gig the other night. So maybe it just sounded to me like it should have been right. Anyway, Barry, that point there, again for Dave, I think that's a very valid point, really well made. Don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. The principle being that these things aren't perfect, okay, but to me it kind of that sums up the whole principle of harm reduction. You know, we're not saying that it's perfect. We're saying that it's a better option. What are your thoughts?
Well, my first thought was that I think the term perfect is a false premise. I don't think that you can reach perfection. If the definition of perfection is that it has reached its zenith, it's as far as it can go, it cannot be changed, there's nothing you can do to it to make it better. The only thing that is really perfect is a statue in the park.
Yeah.
And then birds come and crap on it.
Very nicely put. Very nicely put. But do you agree with the point there that there's a danger that in this pursuit of perfection, that people are destroying the idea, basically? Yeah.
Yeah, the danger is that they're trying to get to an end point. They're trying to get to, okay, we can legislate this, we can write this, we can arrange it all. Now it's perfect. We don't have to do anything else. We can go on to something else. That denies evolution. All advancements, all innovation, all improvements come from evolution. One step better, one step better. So I think there's three levels. There's the perfect, which is unattainable, impractical, and really doesn't exist. There's better, and then there's good. And Dave Dorn is exactly right. We are at good. We were at good back in the early days of the 510s and the 401s and the 801s.
My experience during the ad break with this 2-ohm atomizer, notwithstanding, I'll fill everybody in afterwards. But Barry and I were having a chuckle. Carry on, Barry.
But at the time, it was good. At the time. And then people say, well, what can we do to make it a little better? What can make it a little better? A little better. So it's all steps of a little better, step by step by step. Never attaining perfect, because it's never going to finish. It's going to be a little bit better, a little bit better. And what we are using today, in the future, people will look back just as you were looking back at what you had 4 years ago.
I think you make a really valid point, and when we started using these things, right? How many more times likely were you 4 years ago to get a gob full of juice than you are today? Let me move that beer bottle out of your way. Sorry.
You kept your paper towel in your pocket so you could always be cleaning out your mouth.
Let's let them in on this, right? I took one of those 2-ohm atomizers I was talking about, right? And I put it onto this little AA sized 14500 box mod. And it first of all I thought, is it working? And then I realised it was. I dripped some juice on. I took a drag on it. It's gurgling. Not as bad as it was. I had flooded it. Out came the tissue, cleaned it up. And it was like I'd never stopped doing it. I unscrewed the atomizer, could have done it blindfold, blew it out into the tissue. Tissue goes over there. Okay, now I can get a drag off it. But this is a 2-ohm atomizer with a 4.2 volts, probably close. Let's assume it's about 4 volts. It's a pretty close to topped up 14500 battery. And it's not great. This is the iStick, and it's a 1.8 ohm atomizer, so it's not hugely different. It's set at 8 watts. That's 3.7 volts is what this is putting out. There is basically bugger all comparison. There is no way I could go back to that.
Back then, it was stone knives and bear skins compared to what we have now.
Pretty much. Yeah, and I'm dripping this because there was no way I was going to get some of that blue foam out of the little drawer there.
Blue foam didn't work anyway.
But I can officially and honestly report to you that this is rubbish and will not be replacing this. and that's the evolution you're talking about, isn't it? Because without this,
you wouldn't have gotten to.
And they're not hugely dissimilar when you look at them. They're both like a battery in a box with an atomizer on the top. Without that, we'd never have got to that, would we?
Not at all. No.
Right, I'm never ever going to use that setup again. If you would like to win this. No, sorry. Yes, okay, right. Yeah, I mean, we were talking, and you made a comment during the ad break, and I said, is this working? You pointed out to me as well that you'd have to buy your atomizers in tens, so you get 2 or 3 that were any good. And that's absolutely true, isn't it? I mean, that was the same for you, I guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You buy 10 to get 3 that worked really well, and you chuck the others because no one was going to take them back because they didn't work. Well, of course they didn't work. That's China's quality control.
That's right. That was, those were the odds, weren't they? About 30%. So
and that's just the accepted norm at that time. Now we wouldn't stand for it, but back then that was the accepted norm. Yeah.
Exactly right. Right, now because we're running so wildly late, I've kind of lost track of the timing, but it is, I believe, time for our second ad break, so we'll take that now. And at least that's working. It's new software, as I was explaining to you. That's where my titles went. But the ads, they seem to be working okay, so let's, fingers crossed, here we go.
LP Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and e-liquids. Proud sponsors of vaping entertainment on Vapor Trails TV.
And welcome back. Yeah, so again, we were chatting during the break because we just carry on, don't we, mate?
Oh yeah.
A really good point there, and if it's perceived that there is problems with something, like e-cigs, if it's perceived by authorities that they're not perfect, then the next thing they want to do is control it, fix it. Yeah, I mean, do you agree? So it becomes a kind of it becomes a device, doesn't it, to actually exploit the faults, if you like.
Yeah, I think legislatures, while they they could be doing a lot of great good. But when they're functioning from the false premise that there is a perfection that can be reached, then all of their legislation, rules, laws go to control people. And once everybody steps and falls in line, then you can be happy. If you're waiting for other people to change before you can be happy, you're going to wait a very long time.
And what do you think this perfection that they think can be achieved looks like? I mean, there are two obvious candidates to me. One is total abstinence, and the other one could be pharmaceutical standards.
It'll be as different as each individual. The real hardcore nannies want to get rid of everything that has anything to do with personal pleasure. That's perfection for them.
Yeah, the prohibitionists, as I prefer
then there's
to call
a pharmaceutical approach where, yes, as long as there's no damage to health, if we can get to where there's no damage for health, then I'll be happy. Be happy. Look, everything has what you can appreciate and what you cannot appreciate. Which side of the coin you put the predominant amount of your attention on defines your character.
Yeah, nicely put. Yeah, that's a really good point.
And the lawmakers who are trying to do good, look for the good, and find the good, they will be the outstanding stars. The legislatures that are looking for the bad, want to control the bad, want to stomp out the bad, that defines them, and they are the villains.
I think that's extremely well put again, Barry. Yeah. We do like you. You're very articulate, you see, because I wouldn't have been able to articulate a piece like that without several swear words.
I can put them in if you like.
And inferences. No, I like your way better. it means we stay on air. No, I think that's absolutely crack on, isn't it? You know, I think one of the reasons as well that is such an issue with these things, with electronic cigarettes, is that the perceived... One of the things that we hear the authorities say, you know, pharmaceutical standards, for example, is we're talking about consistent doses. They want everything to be the same. You know, the pharmaceutical argument says that the tobacco companies would love that if they could just mass produce a cigar like millions of them the same and everybody wants it. But I think one of the reasons that's a particular issue here is that the variety that we've got is one of the key reasons for the success of e-cigs. And the two ideas are just simply not compatible.
In the pharmaceutical approach, where you're looking for a controlled, precise delivery amount, again, you're looking for perfection. That does not take into account the individual's bodily response to that perfect dosage, because every individual will react differently. That's why you listen to a commercial on TV, and half of the commercial are the disclaimers.
Yeah.
Don't take it with this. Don't take it with that. Don't do it with this. Don't do it with that. And one of the side benefits is death.
Yes.
Again, they're trying for a perfection that doesn't exist. Go to better. What will take it from good to better? Then that better becomes the good. Now, what can we do to make that better? Then that better becomes the good. And you step better, better, better. And e-cigs is the perfect example of that. You start out with the 501s and the 410s and the 601s and the 801s. And now we've got, you know, big Buddhas and roses and we can't imagine, wow, how do we put up with that stuff? Because at the time, it was good.
Have you been tempted by this God mod?
No, not at all.
No?
No. It's just too big for me as I look at all my big stuff.
I know I'm going to end up with one, but simply because I'm nosy by nature and I do a vaping TV show. You know?
Well, yeah.
It doesn't really... I don't know why. I don't know. I'll probably get one and have some fun with it. Hopefully not hurt myself.
I had my attention diverted by the DNA 40.
You're a big fan, aren't you?
Yeah.
The DNA.
The 40 is nice.
I mean, okay, I can see that. I mean, I haven't got I haven't got an atomizer that I take up of about 12 or 13 watts. That's the thing. You know, I'm not of the cloud chasing persuasion.
Well, they define the discussion is that temperature controls flavor and wattage controls volume of vapor, and you're looking for the balance of the two that satisfy you.
Yeah, yeah. It comes down to that same point, doesn't it, about individual preferences, you know, and the way that you really can't standardise it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am not saying these things shouldn't exist, you know. You know, you do what you want to do, because that is first and foremost is my philosophy. You know, you choose.
And that's the joy of all the variety, all the innovation. Because
yes,
each individual can find their sweet spot.
So I mean, we have established that I have become something of a vaping old fart. So you know, I've proved that, and I've even undermined my own argument with this thing. I had a feeling I might, if I'm honest.
Well, see, the secret to an old fart is that he does all of his experimentation in private.
Yes. Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Right, I've got a couple of messages I've got to play. Well, I don't have to play, but I'm choosing to play. One specifically, and that is, you know, Gary Dibley. You watch VTTV.
Oh, yeah. I enjoyed Gary.
One of the original mod makers, and that he used to make things like this. I think he does. He actually, I've got one of Gary's mods in a tin with a variable voltage board in it, and it's bloody brilliant actually. But it's Children in Need appeal. This is a telethon. I'm not sure how much you know about this. It's an annual telethon on the BBC. Children in Need. Obviously, it's to raise money for children's charities. It's a big deal, and for the last, well, ever since I've known him, Gary sort of organises a bunch of vaping-related things to raise money for this appeal. I've just got a very quick trailer now, because people often say, well, you know, how do we donate? What can we do? So there's a very quick trailer here just to show you how you can do stuff. And welcome back again. There you go. So, you know, you want to support children in need? That's how you can do it, in the name of vaping. As Gary has explained in the past, it shows the vaping community in a positive light. So if you're thinking of giving your children in need, do it through that. Anyway, right. We've actually kind of flown around. I've got 5 minutes left. And I've got a little thing that I've got to play that's 1 minute and 21 seconds left. But I feel like you've only been on air about 10 minutes. I know it's longer than that, but I do.
When you're having fun.
We do enjoy having you on here because you talk sense, and it's good. And I haven't been monitoring chat, so there may have been some questions, but like you'll be on again in the future, won't you?
Just give me a call.
I'm sure of that. So if anybody has got any questions specifically for Barry for a future episode, drop me a line, dave.kitson@vaportales.tv, and I'll make sure he gets asked. So, because he's a good guy, he'll answer your questions for you. I just want to play this little trailer coming up, and then I've got like a qualifier after it. So this is what's coming up on VTTV this week. Hello. Hello again, everybody. Yes, so that's what's coming up, except that this week it's not. This is the qualifier I told you about. Apparently, due to attending vaping related conferences and stuff, and I probably should know what. Long story short, Marco and Dave Dawn have swapped this week. So on Tuesday night it'll be the Haze Hour, and on Thursday night it'll be Vapor Scene with Marco and Gary, I presume. Apologies for not having the full details of where they're going to, but they're going somewhere. There you go. There's some conference or something. I've seen it on Twitter. And that takes us pretty much to the end of the show. So it remains for me to thank Barry very, very much. Absolute pleasure to have you on. Look forward to the next time.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I had a lot of fun.
I get the sense that you do, actually, yeah. I do. So thanks for that. And to everybody else out there, I'll just say I'll see you next week. And until then, thanks for watching. Good night.